So I've been doing these motorbike trips for a few years now. I was motorbiking a long time on these long distance motorcycle trips, but I had my dog I always had to leave behind. If it's a nice weather out, do I take the dog for a walk or do I go for a motorbike ride? Well, now I combine the two.
So if you have a dog and a motorcycle, what better thing to do than to find an adventure? Today on NSK9, we're going to join one person and his dog Datsun as they find every lighthouse in Nova Scotia.
I like being on the road. That's always been something I like to do. And I did it for a long time, just looking for, I call it world's largest nonsense or roadside attractions. So like I rode out of the way to see the world's largest prairie camel in Moose Jaw, or the world's largest frying pan or canoe or whatever. So the reason I do that, I don't care about those sites so much, is they take you on roads that normally you wouldn't go down. They're in communities that don't get visited by tourists. It keeps you away from all that stuff, and you wind up having a better experience, or at least that's what I find.
So this is Datsun.
This is Datsun. Yep, so this is how he rides. He's got a harness here. Originally I had him mounted to the box when he rides, you know, just in case, you know, something happened, he wanted to jump out or something, but after training and him getting used to it, there's no chance of that happening. So I actually don't strap him in. I feel like it's safe.
How are you?
That's good.
Very excited.
Good boy. So I feel like if something were to happen, if I were to ever, you know, drop the bike or whatever, I wouldn't want him strapped in there. I'd want him to be able to eject himself. So no.
It's probably safer not being strapped in.
That's what I think. Yeah.
And I guess it's deep enough, right? That for him, he's not going to like slide out or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no chance of him falling out for sure.
So this is a bit like a dog's dream, right? Like you see the dogs hanging with their head out the window of a car, and like this is permanently outside the window of a car.
Absolutely. So his ideal speed is around 60 kilometers an hour. That's when he's still looking around, still sniffing everything he can sniff. Going a little faster than that, he tucks down a little bit and takes the wind. He's still enjoying himself, but every time I slow down, you can see him getting excited. So as far as I'm concerned, for the type of thing I like doing with a dog, this is the perfect motorcycle. So it comes with these panniers, so like you've probably seen them around. Every BMW out there comes with these hard case panniers, and then this one I had a fabricator here in Halifax help me build this. It's the exact same as this. It mounts the exact same way, but it's bigger and it's the right size for Datsun. He just sits right down inside.
And so Datsun isn't your first dog?
No, Datsun's not my first dog. I got started with this stuff when I was living out in British Columbia. I was there for a military posting just for 1 year, and I liked riding out there. British Columbia is beautiful. And I had, Bricklin was his name. He was living with me out there, and I decided to put this trailer hitch on. This is aftermarket, and I got a trailer that I tow behind me, and me and Bricklin started exploring Vancouver Island. We did that for the year that I was living there, and he got comfortable with it. That was all from scratch, right? So I would put him in the trailer, get him used to it, get him comfortable. He had a bed in there, his food, toys, everything, and then I would just tow him slowly.
That's very extravagant.
Yeah, well, it was comfortable. It was a luxury motorcycle riding, but of course it's a big trailer, so it's cumbersome for me, and it's an extra challenge for me to carry around.
Kind of might as well have a car at that point.
Well, it's the size of a car when you're towing that trailer, but it was perfect for a dog to get used to life on the motorcycle. He got used to it really quickly. Bricklin was a pretty unique dog, very laid back, and we wound up riding back to Halifax from British Columbia.
And we went all the way across the country.
Yeah, not a very direct route either. We stayed on a lot of side roads the whole way across.
Bricklin was Steve's first dog, and it was from Bricklin that his current dog, Datsun, learned to ride the roads.
Bricklin was such a good dog. I got Datsun as a puppy, and I wanted him to make sure he got some of the characteristics of Bricklin to rub off on him, because Bricklin was such a well-behaved dog, great on the motorcycle. So last year, Datsun was only 6 months old, and he was riding in the trailer with Bricklin, and a lot of those characteristics rubbed off. So Bricklin was calm and could handle it, and I think that was comforting to Datsun riding in the back of the motorcycle.
So you had 2 dogs going with you for a
Two
little
dogs,
while.
that's right. So last year, every year we do one big trip. Last year's was, we got as far as Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. We rode from Halifax down to Savannah, Georgia, 2 dogs on the motorcycle. And again, always back roads, side roads.
You visited a few places with this?
Yeah, so these stickers here, this is just more of a decorative thing, but between Datsun and Bricklin, they've been to all these places. So the box is new. I only got the box this year, but these stickers are all from where we went with the trailer. Some of them are, you know, not so exciting, but Pensacola.
Yeah, it's Toronto.
Yeah, Pensacola, Roanoke, Scranton, and all the way out to the west coast where we used to ride.
And I see he's got his own set of doggles.
Of course. So this is necessary. So a dog sticking his head out the window, you'll notice if anyone's ever had a dog that sticks their head out the window, they don't do it for very long. It's hard on the eyes. So this means he can do it indefinitely, and that's what we do on the bike.
In 2020, trips to far-flung places became impossible due to COVID lockdowns. So Stephen Datsun set out on a new mission.
We're stuck in Nova Scotia, and I thought that.
But we're not stuck in Nova Scotia, right?
I thought of it at first. We're stuck in Nova Scotia. I won't be able to go on any big trips. What can I do here in Nova Scotia? And I know the province pretty well, but you know I could always know it better. I came up with a plan of seeing every lighthouse in Nova Scotia, and there are a lot of them, and they are located in often very obscure places. And I got started with this, and it turned out to be a much bigger undertaking than I thought.
So why lighthouses?
Well, if you think of Nova Scotia, what do you think of when you think of Nova Scotia?
I guess Peggy's Cove, right?
Maybe Peggy's Cove, or maybe beaches or something like that. Beaches aren't unique to Nova Scotia, though we have some pretty unique beaches. Lighthouses, that's I think what people think of most for Nova Scotia. So I looked it up online, found out where they all are and how many there are. It's 166, and they are everywhere. So there's not one part of Nova Scotia that doesn't have lighthouses. So that trying to see them would put me in every single part of Nova Scotia.
Did it at all surprise you what some of these lighthouses look like? Did you expect them all to look like George's Island?
I didn't expect them all to look like George's Island. I didn't know what to expect, and you know what? Having no expectations and no hopes or a real prior knowledge about lighthouses or anything probably made it so pleasing as I went, because there's some rundown lighthouses. Sometimes, quite often, they're not even there anymore. I'd try and get to one that I thought was there. The internet says it's there. They have a photo from 2018, but it's burned down or something like that. There's a lot of that. But there is a surprising amount of really beautiful ones like George's Island, like Antigonish. There's that George Point. That's beautiful.
Puppies do get growing pains. We refer to it as panosteitis, and it's actually a condition where the bones are growing so fast that they become a little bit painful. But most of the time they just grow out of it pretty quickly. Every once in a while we do have to treat with some pain medication.
What kind of reactions have you had as you've traveled around?
Oh, all sorts of them. Just when I pulled up here, a couple little kids came over and just ran to them. That happens all the time. The more shocking one is people driving their cars and pulling out their cell phones while they're driving. I've almost caused a few accidents just by people taking pictures, and I'm a little cognizant of that all the time. Nothing serious yet.
How unusual is this? Do you know,
So when I first started doing this with the trailer, I thought I was inventing everything. I figured someone had done it, but since I've done it, I've run into quite a few other people that do it. There's Facebook groups kind of dedicated to it. Not too many people do the long distance thing, but where I came up with the idea of the starboard bridge wing here, to have the dog in the pannier, was I met a guy in Deals Gap. If you're a motorcycle rider, everyone in the world knows where Deals Gap is. It's a motorcycle resort in Tennessee, North Carolina-Tennessee border. And I met a guy there who saw the trailer. He wanted to talk to me, sure. We had a little chit-chat. He told me about his dog. Moto Mutt International is his name, and he's off in Europe right now, and he does the exact same thing, a pannier, and he's got a little border collie, quite a bit smaller than Datsun, but rides in the pannier, and he does it. And that's what gave me the inspiration to do this. Now, I never knew I was a dog person until I got Bricklin, and then it was, like I said, I spent a lot of time on the road. Bricklin would come with me in the car everywhere. We went everywhere. We did road trips, and it was always me and him. And it was that transition, once I started riding motorcycles, it just opened the world of being on the road a whole lot more, but unfortunately I couldn't ride with the dog, and that's when I said, why not? So combine them. So that's when I built the trailer for Bricklin, which transitioned into I call this the starboard bridge wing for Datsun. We've been around to see every lighthouse in Nova Scotia, and I just finished doing this.
Can I give you kisses? That is such a beautiful, such a... Lina. Hi, sweetie.
Good boy.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Thank you.
So we were saying that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see I met Peter McKay there?
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Got a picture. He helped me take a picture too. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everywhere I go, people just love seeing them. It's the same everywhere too. Whether you're in middle of nowhere, Nova Scotia, or downtown Halifax. I get more in here in Halifax, but it's more people.
Well, it's a nice day. It's everybody's out in the waterfront too, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I guess not everybody's dog has goggles.
Yeah.
So lighthouse.
Yeah, this is where it all started, George's Island Lighthouse. So when I posted them on Instagram, I tried to do them in order, sequential order, clockwise around the province, starting at George's Island here and ending back in Halifax. McNabb's Island is going to be the very last one.
You've almost completed these lighthouses.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to get them all done on the motorcycle.
So yeah, I've almost completed the ones I'm going to get for this annual task that I have. I've got just a couple left, which I can get to by motorcycle if we get another warm day. Other than that, the ones are out in islands. So like I said, I have the kayak that he rides in the front of my tandem kayak, and we go out to some of them on islands, but each one we have to do by kayak is a huge undertaking to kayak out there.
There is more to taking your dog on a motorbike than throwing him in a pannier or trailer, and safety always has to be top of mind.
He's good now, but getting him there, training him, what I did is I had a case like this, just a stock case that came with a motorcycle. I would put him in there. He was smaller when he was a puppy, and I'd just ride around a little bit. It was actually last winter I was doing it on 2 wheels, just going around my driveway sort of thing, and he would jump out, he would get excited, and eventually he just gets used to it, he calms down, but being near the older dog who's already used to it was the big key. But the transition from the trailer over to the 2 wheels was all Datsun.
Have there been any moments that you were, I don't know, maybe a little bit concerned as you're driving along, or?
So I've actually had 2 accidents. One of them was a rear ender. That happened earlier this year, and that was with the box. The guy bumped me from behind, put a big dent in the box, repaired no problem. Datsun miraculously was fine, but that's always my biggest concern, is motorcycles are dangerous. What I like having them here in the box for is, if there ever was a bad accident to happen, me and him would likely suffer the same fate, which makes sure I do my best to make sure he's safe. So that luckily wasn't too bad of an incident. It's the same bike I'm riding now. It was fine.
I mean, motorcycles are, they're safe, but they're also dangerous, right? I mean, we all kind of inherently know that.
Yeah, just like, I mean, driving a car is dangerous, but we go for drives in cars sometimes just for fun. Motorcycles are just that times a little bit more. So that's it. This is the safest way I can think to carry Datsun with me. The harness he wears, actually, originally that was to strap him into the bike, and I like it this way better. I feel like if anything were to happen, he would be ejected. Once he knows he has to stay in there, it's a lot better. But I still keep the harness on him. If there's a handle right there, I can grab it if I ever need to. I've obviously never needed to, and I'd have to reevaluate things if that ever came to that, but I just liked it as an extra safety thing. Well, sometimes when we're riding, the roads obviously are too rough to take the risk. You know, if I topple the bike over, I don't want the dog to get hurt. So those are usually roads where we're going 5 kilometers an hour, 10 kilometers an hour, getting through the rough muck. So I'll just give Datsun permission to jump out, and he keeps up beside me. Therefore, he's having a good time running beside me, and I'm having a much more comfortable time knowing that if I drop the bike, then I'm not going to hurt the dog. So we'll do that sometimes for probably a couple kilometers. I'll have the dog running beside me, and he just knows to stay right beside me, and it's good for him. That's one of those like bonding things that dogs like with their humans. We're accomplishing something together. But what I was worried about when the first time I did that was just like the dog running beside a bicycle or anything is what happens if they run in front. He's a herding dog, so he could do that. And if I'm on a motorcycle, obviously that's much more dangerous. So I just went really slow and really careful with him the first few times I did that, and he knows now. He runs right beside me. I think he knows that it's a fear of mine, so he sticks right by my side.
So Datsun has probably been more places than many people.
Yeah, I think so. He's a pretty well-traveled dog. He's definitely got more time on two wheels than most motorcycle riders, I think. Yeah, he's been to, I counted once, I think it was 22 states, and he's definitely been to every province. Except he hasn't been to Newfoundland yet, but
no?
We'll get there next year.
You have to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, Datsun's like a huge part of your life.
Yeah, and you know, it's hard to talk about exactly what I do this for. Obviously, I like being on the road, and I like dogs. I like hiking with them. I like doing all of the normal stuff people like doing with their dogs. The more he can be around me, the better it is for him and the better it is for me. I just like having him around, and I do these simple things like going on little motorcycle trips, and he just enjoys all of it, and I enjoy seeing him enjoy it.
Is this kind of an escape for the two of you?
I think of this as more our main part of our life, and the rest of my life is the escape. We do this every day. Even in winter, we just like getting on the road and doing stuff together, going on hikes or whatever. And the motorcycle is just a venue to do that.
Dogs can get cataracts. However, in dogs, we often see cataracts related to specific breeds, such as in Cocker Spaniels. Interesting enough, dogs tend to get cloudy eyes as they age, and this is a normal process, something called lenticular sclerosis, which is often confused or mistaken for a cataract. However, it's a normal syndrome of the eye, and the eye itself is not actually diseased.
How does this all make you feel?
Feel?
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be on the road with the dog. I'm happy to be on the motorcycle. That's the thing that makes me the happiest. Being with the dog probably makes me happiest. Motorcycle is my favorite place to be, and get to combine them. I just feel good doing it all the time. If I never had to come home, I probably wouldn't.
So what's been the most interesting thing about this journey?
I mean, every place in Nova Scotia is interesting. I keep meeting interesting people everywhere I go. And what I think what's interesting about this is having a dog and a motorcycle is like a key into every community that I go, especially if I'm going in obscure places like lighthouses and obscure communities that aren't really meant for visitors or welcome visitors mostly. I get people come out and they see a dog on a motorcycle. They invite me sometimes into their homes. I've had people come out and offer me coffee, and I just get to meet a lot of people on the road. And that's a big part of what motorcycling is about. Having a dog on a motorcycle just amplifies that times 10.
So we are at probably the most iconic lighthouse in Nova Scotia.
Definitely. I don't think anyone in Nova Scotia doesn't know about Peggy's Cove Lighthouse.
We've been here before.
I've been here probably hundreds of times before I started this trek.
But it had to be part of this journey, right?
Of course it had to be part of this journey. Also, this is on the way to several other lighthouses on the same road. I think there's 3 more just down the road here, and I saw them all.
Did you ever think that this would grow to what it's become for you?
I'll tell you, I've always enjoyed being on the road, as we were discussing earlier, my father's a truck driver, and I think that that was my idea of a vacation when I was younger, is just get on the road, go with my dad in the truck once a year. We'd go for a long haul ride. I think that, crossed some wires in my brain, and I stuck with that ever since. So I've always enjoyed that, and as soon as I got a motorcycle, I stopped doing these road trips with the dog, and combining the two of them has been awesome. And right off the bat, we started doing these long haul trips. As soon as I built the first means of transporting my dog on a motorcycle, we rode from British Columbia to Halifax, and I've never stopped. Last year we did all the way down to South Carolina, or Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, and this year we've probably put more miles on the bike just here in Nova Scotia than I have any other year.
And so a journey to see every lighthouse in Nova Scotia ends after 9 months of riding and more kilometers than expected. And it's a journey that was not without its challenges.
The struggle really is a constant struggle of making sure he's comfortable. I've been doing this a long time. I know what makes me uncomfortable on the road, and I can deal with it. I know how to deal with it, or just get used to being uncomfortable. But I can't really communicate with the dog to find out what he likes or what he doesn't like. I just have to do my best. So little things like what he rides. He's got big floppy ears, so when he rides, sometimes his ears turn inside out. So I've got to adjust that all the time. I got to make sure that is he okay with the amount of speed I give? And I have little tests to make sure that he's okay with it, and he isn't. But it's a lot of little testing, a lot of seeing how comfortable he is, and safe, of course, making sure that, is the wind bad for him? Is he going to go deaf with the amount of wind he gets? All those questions. I've done as much research as I can and testing with him as I can to make sure he's in the best condition possible, and he is. He loves it.
Yeah, he seems to really enjoy this.
Yeah, and I've got a few more ideas about how to make it a bit more comfortable inside, with cushions down that he can kind of lay his front paws. That's kind of what he does. Lays his nose here. I want to have the windshield up so the ears flipping over isn't going to be such a big deal.
So it's a constant evolution.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to get more and more comfortable with it, just as I get more and more comfortable with riding with him. And I enjoy the whole process of figuring all that out. And that's probably, honestly, the highlight, is figuring all this out with him, and just getting better and better at it.
So what's your winter plan?
My winter plan, I think, is depending on... No, my winter plan will be to visit with the dog every craft brewery in Nova Scotia. So we've already seen a few, and some of them, they're happy to let the dog inside, and I think with a little conversation I might be able to get that a lot more often. But he's already been to quite a few. I just go there, order a flight of beer. I like beer, and everyone likes dogs, and it's a good way for me to get out to some obscure places sometimes and enjoy some beer.
So Datsun could really become an ambassador for Nova Scotia tourism.
Well, that was never the intention, but with the sort of things we do, I think we're experiencing more of Nova Scotia than most people ever get to do. So, yeah, I don't think too many people know the roads as good as me and Datsun. Why else would anyone have a reason to go visit every road in Nova Scotia, and we've done it.
Visit us online to tell us your dog stories for possible inclusion in future episodes. And don't forget to share photos of your canine friends on social media with the hashtag NSK9.
So you're going to have done all the lighthouses. What's next year's plan?
Of course, doing these trips, I always plan way ahead. I've got 4 different plans in the mix. I've even got one over the winter, but not with a motorcycle, just me and the dog, of course. Next year, I'm thinking, if we're still in COVID and I'm still, stuck in Nova Scotia, having the best time of my life, in terms of motorcycle riding, I'm thinking of doing maybe every beach in Nova Scotia, which is a similar list as the lighthouses, and they're spread across.
That's a very long list.
Yeah, well, every recreational beach would be 92 beaches in Nova Scotia. And they're spread out similarly as the lighthouses are, just randomly everywhere along the coastline.
Teaching an old dog new tricks, or a new dog old tricks? That's next week on NSK9.
What got you interested in teaching your dog tricks?
I think the big thing is that I have a border collie and then I have Missy and another herding breed, and they require a lot of mental stimulation. So you can actually never really tire them out physically. So mentally you're able to tire them out by just getting them to do stuff, making them think. And I think there's a lot of value to getting them working with us, and it's a great bonding exercise.